Magandang hapon! I'm gonna make ensaimada rolls. It's a Filipino roll. It's so good. They're like pillowy and buttery with cheese on top with sprinkled sugar and more butter. I took this cookbook that I stole from my mom. They had 2 recipes for ensaimada. One recipe asked for like 10 cups of flour and 16 eggs and to rise it like 2 hours at a time. And then the other recipe was easy. And I thought, I'm gonna make both recipes and test them out against each other. I'm gonna start off with the first more time-consuming recipe for ensaimada. Okay, let's get started! Yay! Add 1 tablespoon of dry yeast to 3/4 cups of lukewarm water. Stir to dissolve the yeast. And then add a 1/2 tablespoon of sugar and 1 cup of white flour. Mix well. Let rise for 2 hours in a warm place. Add 1/4 cup of sugar, 4 egg yolks, and 1 cup of white flour. Mix well. Use your Filipino chopsticks if necessary, and then let rise for 2 hours in a warm place. In a separate bowl, add 1/2 cup of butter, 1/4 cup of sugar, and 4 egg yolks, and then cream together. Add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now you can add 2.5 cups of white flour, or you can substitute in a 1/2 cup of ground flax, and 2 cups of whole wheat flour. Now this is where I made a mistake. You shouldn't add that 2.5 cups of flour at this step. Instead, you should add the flour at the very end, but add only enough of flour until the dough takes shape. That way you can avoid adding excess flour, which is not easy to fix. Add the dough to the cream butter mixture, and then switch to a dough hook if you're using a stand-up mixer. It's after this step is when you would gradually add in your flour, but stop adding flour once your dough has taken shape. Remove dough and place on a floured surface. Knead dough until fine and elastic to touch. However, I added too much flour to my dough. You can tell because it's difficult to knead and it's not soft and airy. Now form dough into a ball and cover the dough. I just placed mine in a bowl. Let dough rest for 10 minutes, but I let mine rest for about 15 minutes because I wanted to get more air into my dough. Now place the dough on a floured surface and knead dough lightly. I cut the dough into 24 equal-sized pieces, and then I'd roll 1 piece of dough until it's very thin and flat. I spread butter on the dough, I sprinkled in some cheddar cheese, and then I rolled it into a log shape and then I coiled it up. Once again, roll the dough until thin and flat, butter, cheese, roll, and then coil. Place the rolls in a greased ensaimada roll or a baking sheet until they double in size. I let mine rise for about 2 hours and I just gave up. It didn't seem like they were really rising. But some recipes say to let the rolls rise overnight. Bake the rolls for 10 to 15 minutes in a 350-degree oven. Don't forget to switch them around in case you're baking them all at once. And then let the rolls rest for at least 10 minutes. Butter the tops of the rolls. Here I'm just using room temperature butter. Now dip the butter tops in a bowl of sugar. If you sprinkle the sugar like I did, it won't really adhere to the tops. This is optional. You can also sprinkle cheddar cheese on the top of your rolls. So here's the finished product. Even though I added a bit too much flour to the dough, it actually still came out soft. It reminded me much of a homemade croissant, and I'm motivated to do better next time. Magandang gabi o magandang umaga. It's now 12:30 a.m. It's taken me 10 hours. That's pretty good. For having wheat in them, I mean, it's still pretty soft. It's probably all the butter I added, but it's good. I'm really happy. If you're interested in seeing how the other recipe compares to this one, the shorter recipe, stay tuned. Good night. Paalam. Then pour the sauce back over the chicken, and voila, you got chicken adobo, America Test Kitchen style. It's 12:30, I need to sleep.